India woke up to more bad news today. Oil prices had increased once again by another 80 paise.
Never seen prices increase this quickly. We set a new record for the biggest jump in 1 week.
It is very common to have heard and read about concerns on increasing fuel prices. We are going to talk about how all these concerns us as individual in our today's video titled Fuel Economy. But in order to understand all that, we need to start with the first question, which is, what is fuel? We might have all read about it during our school days that any material that is capable of generating energy is called fuel, and this energy is either directly used as heat energy or probably converted into other forms of energy like mechanical energy or electrical energy, and then they are used for their functional benefits. Some of the usages of fuel in our day-to-day life are usage of gas in cooking food, usage of electronic and electrical devices like AC, TV, washing machine, fans, lights, etc. that run on electricity generated using fuel. Also, when we are doing daily commute to work or probably traveling long distance, we use various modes of transport like car, train, ship, aeroplane, etc. that again run on fuel. However, major consumption of fuel goes into the commercial purposes. For example, the fruits and vegetables that you buy from the daily market reaches there from the farm via transportation that again uses fuel. The grocery items that you use or various items that you purchase from the supermarket are either manufactured or packed in factories that consume fuel, and again they are transported to these particular places by vehicle that consume fuel. So if the fuel prices increase, the cost of all these items and activities go up. Hence, fuel is also a very important part when we measure the impact of inflation on consumers. So what is inflation? Well, that is a story for another day. Now it's time to face the important question on why does the price of fuel rise? The answer to this can be found in Economics 101. Where price is defined as function of demand and supply. If we plot a graph with quantity on x-axis and price in y-axis, then, well, you know what? Once a very famous TikToker said,
"It's so hard. Can we skip to the good part?"
Higher the gap there is between demand and supply, with supply being on the lower side, higher will be the price. This is something I think probably everybody would have experienced while booking an Uber during the rain. Then next question one would ask is, why can't the supply be equal to demand? For that we need to look at things from perspective of demand first and then from supply side. The problem with demand is that it is seasonal. If you take example of electricity for a tropical country like India, demand will be at peak during the summers, minimum during the winters, and somewhere in between these two during the rest of the seasons. Now then, why can't supply also adjust itself accordingly in that case? Well, the answer is because it's not feasible both practically as well as financially. The second problem with demand is that it is ever increasing, and the blame for this goes to us, or rather in opinion of few group of people, the blame goes to capitalism and consumerism. The similar situation can be seen in case of our smartphones. No matter how powerful the manufacturers create the battery of our mobile phones, will still drain it out in less than 24 hours. Now let us look at problem from the supply side. To start with, we need to understand fuel types as various sources of energy. The most common sources of energy would be water, wind, and sun. However, in reality, major source of energy comes from inside the earth in terms of fossil fuels like coal, petroleum, etc. In addition to this being non-renewable and non-environmental friendly, these fuels are not uniformly distributed. In fact, most of the petroleum and other related products are concentrated in the Middle East Asian countries and Russia. Because of this, many countries including India have to import majority of their fuel requirements, hence making them vulnerable to risk in terms of supply side, leading to frequent price hikes.
If global prices go up, India is bound to be affected. That's because India imports nearly 85% of its oil.
So now let us try to look at what could be the probable reasons that might lead to supply related issues in these oil rich countries. 1. They are not able to produce fuel. This might happen when a particular country faces troubles mainly related to financial or political reasons. 2. Country does not want to supply in enough quantities. The oil producing countries have formed an association called OPEC that jointly decides on production and distribution of oil. Although it was set up with objective of getting fair price for these countries, more often their decisions have been motivated by political objectives. 3. Now if oil is produced and the countries are willing to sell, there might be an issue related to distributing this fuel to their destination countries because of various reasons related to logistics. 4. And when the oil manages to reach the destination country, for example like India, the fuel prices can still get impacted if the local currency weakens against the buying currency, which is usually dollar. 5. And when everything aligns, still there is a risk to the fuel price if any big event happens that disrupts this whole oil supply or its consumption, like natural calamities, wars, etc. But all these factors impact only the fuel price. The price that we pay at petrol pump includes other components as well in addition to the fuel price like freight charges, taxes, duties and distributors margin. So even when the oil prices drop, we might not see its impact in the prices we pay because the government would usually decide to increase the other components like duties, etc. But then when there is spike in fuel price, government would usually cut down on these other components so that we don't see its impact on our day-to-day life. So how do we get a better control on the fuel prices? From the demand side, probably an effort should be made from all of us to use fuel only when required. The industries are already being instructed by providing both positive as well as negative incentives to do so. From supply side, we should look at increasing the mix of renewable sources of energy, which is already being done. However, due to various constraints, this is not actually picking up at a desirable rate. Also, countries need to develop their own USPs so that there is more balance of power such that the bargaining power of the oil producing countries minimizes. And in the end, government should try their best to minimize taxes and duties to lessen the burden on our wallet. And last but not the least, let us all say no to the war always.